Diego Maradona is easily the greatest of all time, the best to ever do it. No one is close. Well, that's what the so-called experts would have you believe. Seriously, if you're an active consumer of ESPN or any other mainstream sports pundit, you should probably leave because this one is going to hurt. So before we go any further, here's the truth. Maradona is not comparable to Messi. And not only that, I think it's extremely disrespectful if you do so. With all the information that's available in the modern age, along with how advanced the game has become, not only am I going to prove how one-sided this argument really is, I'm also going to prove that you thinking that he is a little bit concerning. To help facilitate this comparison, I'll be using 4 pillars that's essential when comparing great players: statistics, awards, winners, and the eye test. But before we start comparing, just how good was Maradona statistically? Maradona's career total is 690 matches with 348 goals and 237 assists over a period of just 20 years, which is impressive enough. 0.86 goal contribution is extremely high for any player in world football. But how about we take a look even further? For his first team, Argentinos Juniors, a teenage Maradona was at his best statistically, scoring 116 goals in 166 games, having an impressive 0.68 goal contribution per game. And as far as his time at Napoli, he was able to provide 115 goals in 259 games. These stats on its own make him comparable to some of the game's household names, especially when you realize he was mainly playing as an attacking midfielder. But what about his playing style? Maradona is known for being the Messi of his time, being able to take on multiple defenders regularly just to create a chance. But even though that alone would be impressive enough, he is credited to be even better because of how tough his era really was. With limited protection from referees, Diego would have to actively try to evade defenders' game-ending tackles whenever he's going on a run, giving him an extra skill while playing. He is also known for his playmaking skills, excellent touch and passing, and is known to have skills that players his height don't usually have, seeing that he's 5'5" and is good in the air. With these insane numbers and traits as a professional, Maradona is easily better than all of the players ranked among the best in this position, and it's not even close. To further emphasize this point, let us use the man that is regarded as the best French player of all time as an example. Although we can all agree that Zinedine Zidane had a better career than Maradona, being one of the few players to complete football, his numbers head-to-head is no match for the magician. And not only him, Ruud Gullit, Iniesta, Bobby Carton, all have inferior numbers in every category while being less impressive on the ball. So much so, over 5 games, Maradona would have almost double the goal contributions compared to the others. And again, to further put this into perspective, these are 25 of the greatest offensive midfielders of all time and their goal contribution throughout their career. Maradona isn't here yet. Now he is. The guy is simply in a tier all on his own. In the 80s and 90s, this was the peak of football. No one had seen anything like it and hasn't since. Like with many things, or even games in life, people are really just numbers. And over time, with enough of it, anomalies tends to happen. Strange things tends to happen. Throughout every generation that had the pleasure of playing the game, there are those players that make the game look simple. Players that make sure that with each and every game, they leave a significant impact before they walk off the pitch. But what if, even among those guys, there were just 2 that was just weird? Messi would finally complete football in 2022, winning everything that's even possible to win. And with the glory comes all the comparisons. But first, is it even fair to compare them in the first place? Unlike a weird comparison like Ronaldo and Maradona, that for sure plays in different positions on the field, and also plays a different role on the team, Messi's game is simply a byproduct of Maradona's play, an emulation of sorts. So although on paper Messi is on the wing, as a creative player, he often drops back deep to create and develop plays, which would essentially means he have a similar role on the team as Maradona. And let's be honest, if you were to switch Messi's position on the team to attacking midfield, most people wouldn't even be able to tell the difference, other than the fact that he is not as wide as he once was. Now, seeing that's out of the way, how do they compare? I don't think it's surprising to anyone that Messi is the winner of this category, seeing that he's coming from a club that once dominated Europe for a time. But what you guys don't know is how one-sided this entire debate really is. Maradona has only won 11 major silverwares for his team, 9 for club and 2 for international, while Messi, as of 2024, is the man with the most trophies in history, having 45 cups in his cabinet. Although the numbers are low, Maradona's run with Napoli has been one of the most controversial things in football, seeing that he quite literally won the Serie A title with a mid-table team, a feat that took Napoli another 33 years to achieve. And within that same season, in 1986, he was also able to win the World Cup. However, regardless of how hard it was for Maradona to win those titles, Messi having 4 times the amount of domestic title as Maradona, along with a more positive footprint in Europe, a World Cup, and 2 Copa Americas, to give Maradona this point, you would have to believe that winning the league with a mid-table team is much more impressive than winning for basically 10 years straight. I think it's just easier to give Messi this point. This sport will be split into 3 sections: scoring, assist, and impact on team. In terms of scoring ability, as said before, Maradona is the best in his position and should be respected for it. However, Messi is a statistical anomaly. Messi quite literally has double the amount of goals as Maradona, and is hailed as one of the greatest goal scorers to ever play the game. And if that wasn't insane enough, while doing enough to be compared to some of the greatest goal scorers to play the game, he was also outperforming generational talents in the midfield. By not just having the most assists in a single season, he also has the most assists ever. Messi is just as good up the pitch as he is further back. Even when accounting for their differences when it comes to match played, goals to game ratio is in Messi's favor. When it comes to who has the most impact on their respective team, however, Maradona easily takes the point for this one. Despite the fact that Messi's output is higher, the fact that Maradona was able to win the league with a team that hasn't done so before, and won the World Cup with an Argentinian team that doesn't have as much firepower as their modern counterpart, this is a point for Maradona. It can also be argued that even the legendary Barcelona teams Messi has been a part of, his significance wasn't as great as Maradona's to Napoli. But without overcomplicating things, I rest my case. Although on first glance Maradona's individual accolades might seem impressive, most of them are given after his retirement. But once filtered, this section will feel like it's following the same pattern as winning. While Maradona's individual accolades is numbered around the teens, similar to icons of the game like Cruyff, Zidane and Stefano, it just pales in comparison to someone that has the most in the game. Even the guy that clears third for second place is nowhere close to Messi in first. The amount of silverware this guy has just shows how dominant he was for almost 2 decades. And in my opinion, it's just a byproduct of putting the right thing at the right place at the right time. And again, it's a statistical anomaly, it's just not normal. One can say that Messi's individual accolades are just a byproduct of the era that we're living in, seeing that Maradona never actually won the Ballon d'Or despite being the best player of the 21st century. But regardless of that fact, because of Messi's insane numbers, I think it's only right to give this win to Messi. Comparing two players based on their aesthetics literally couldn't be any harder than this scenario, considering that they play almost identical in every single way. And as a person that didn't get a chance to see Maradona in action, the only thing that I can do to proceed with our discussion is to use a common narrative that I've established before. Because of how chill referees were allowed to be, basically this type of relationship between Maradona and his opponents were a lot more frequent, as opposed to Messi's experience that was literally limited to around 2 or 3 teams, which essentially means Maradona just had to be better if he was doing the same thing that Messi was doing, but in an harder environment. This is a point that could go in either direction, but to be consistent, it's a point for Maradona. So after a basic comparison between these two players, other than the eye test, Maradona's career is nowhere near Messi's, and he's not even close. So why do people or even media companies have this weird discussion so regularly? Let me tell you. How many of you guys in the audience ever heard this one from your parents? If you go outside in the cold, you will get pneumonia, or that the microwave can cause cancer. These misconceptions are passed down mindlessly from parents to children for generations in almost every part of life. In health, the media, and even football too. Ask a young Ronaldo why he claimed Pele is the greatest of all time despite never actually seeing him play before. Because of things like video games, the media machine, and pop culture, believe it or not, there are people out there who actually think Ronaldinho was a better player than Neymar, or that Eden Hazard was as good as Messi, just because of a few highlight videos on YouTube and FIFA ratings. Another thing that I think fostered this comparison is the legend of the World Cup, where in many people's eyes, the World Cup is the leagues above the Champions League in every way. And as much as I would agree that it's a bigger competition, the Champions League and the World Cup level of play is not so different. Sure, due to the social pressures, the average World Cup team would play with a lot more focus. However, just on how much better the average Champions League team is in comparison, more than makes up for that disadvantage. And even if you say the World Cup is harder, how much harder? Is Maradona's one World Cup worth all 4 of Messi's Champions League? Was Messi World Cup run more impressive than Real Madrid 2022 Champions League campaign? I think that's a discussion I will leave you to decide.